Hi guys, Chris here, back with another video. So today's video is first of kind. This is my first ever Q&A video, and today what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out the different questions from the Q&A video I did the other day, where I asked you what questions you had for me. So let's get into the video. So the first question is from Pro Designs, and his question is: vegans don't get zits right? Question mark. So vegans, we can get zits, of course. I get the zits every now and then, but generally from what I can see in my own life and other vegans, we generally have much cleaner skin. Part of the reason for that is when people eat these cancer, heart disease inducing, paleo, Atkins, SAD, keto diets, because they have so much fat in their diet. What can happen is it ends up with too much fat in the blood, and what will happen is the body, to try and get rid of that fat, will excrete it through the skin. That's why a lot of people can get oily skin. I think a good video on that is one by Nina and Randa, and they did on their acne and their zits and how they basically was cured by going to a plant-based vegan diet, or more specifically eating more whole food and less fat and less junk food. So yeah, vegans, we do still get zits, but our skin is a lot cleaner. The next comment is from Ilk Aptrut. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but sorry if it isn't. So his or her question is: I know bikes are considered minimalist compared to, say, cars, but I consider skateboards the embodiment of minimalist object-assisted transportation. Would you agree? I don't really see where you're coming from on that one. I mean, skateboards are obviously cheaper than bikes, but a bicycle is just much more practical, isn't it? You can do so much more on it. You can't do a 100-mile journey on a skateboard. You can on a bike. On a bike you can carry everything. You can go up a hill. You can't skateboard up a hill. So I think the bikes beat this skateboard in that one. So this next one is RTD RD THA vegan. Why does being off the bike for 4 or 5 days make me lose so much of my fitness? I can easily do 30k plus regularly. Being off my bike for a week and 30k felt like I did 300k. Thigh muscles numb, butt hurts, hand numb on bars, and shoulders sore. So that one's quite interesting. So there are a number of reasons why this might be happening. So what I would say is, are you regularly doing 30k bike rides and then having 4 or 5 days off each time? So a number of things here I'd say. So number one, when you're riding, how hard are you going? If you're going, balls to the wall, what's the saying? Full pedal down, full gas. What can happen is, if you don't allow your body to cool down properly and clear that lactate from the muscles that builds up, it can basically sit there, and it makes your fatigue worse and reduces muscle recovery for next time you come to ride. So let's say if you're going balls to the wall when you're doing that 30k, what I would do is I would consider doing a recovery ride. So a recovery ride would be, say, riding in zone 1 or zone 2 of your heart rate. Basically just super easy, just chilling, and just spin those legs out and just remove and flush all that lactate. Next question I would say is, are you eating enough carbs after you get back? Because when you go for a ride, you obviously burn glycogen, especially if you're going hard. So if you're not coming back and eating enough food, what can happen is you can't get enough glycogen back into your muscles. So next time you go to work out, there isn't enough energy there, so it's going to make it harder. Next I would say, are you sleeping properly, getting enough rest, especially if you're going hard? And I think, if you can go away and look at those things, it should basically solve it. So I'd definitely say, don't give it 4 or 5 days, but perhaps give it a recovery ride to flush that out if you're going hard. If that doesn't help, just put a comment in this video and I'll respond to you, and I'll try and help you work out what it could be. Next one is My Nail Flies. Hi, I'm type 1 diabetic, brackets vegetarian too. I was wondering how you take your insulin. Do you use syringes, pens, or an insulin pump? So I always use insulin pen. So basically a pen is where you just screw a needle onto it. It's very small. You dial how much insulin you want to use and then you press down on it. So I always use a pen. I don't use an insulin pump because I don't really believe in them for myself personally. The reason why I'll never use an insulin pump is because you're abdicating responsibility for your own health, in my own personal opinion, because when you're using a pump, you're relying on a piece of technology to safeguard you, but technology can be faulty. It's just not that. I don't like the idea of walking around with something connected to my body. I imagine it'd be kind of distracting, especially if I'm out on my bike. I don't want to be wearing something like that in the case of an accident. It could cause damage. I think they're useful for children potentially. But for me personally, I like to control everything myself. So yeah, I always use pens. Another thing I would say is to you, you said you're vegetarian, so thumbs up, because you're definitely on the right track, and because you're not eating meat. But what I would say to you is think about going full vegan. I used to be pretty much vegetarian before I went vegan, but even still, milk and cheese and stuff like that, it still has an impact. So what I'd say is, what is your insulin to carb ratio? Is it like 1 to 10? Then you probably can go vegan and you can get up to about 1 to 25. So next question, well, 3 questions actually from Gabriel Grant. So the first one from Gabriel is, do you think you would have become a vegan if you weren't diabetic, or was your change inevitable? So when I made the conscious decision to go vegan back in November 2014, I actually did it for heart disease and cancer. I don't want those things. Those things are overwhelmingly largely caused by animal products. And I had no idea that it would improve my type 1 diabetes. I was completely surprised. However, when I was diagnosed as being type 1, I was in a really bad state. So when I watched Forks Over Knives, and I immediately cut out animal products. That's actually, what I mean is, I still had animal products, but what I meant is that I stopped buying meat, chicken, and fish pretty much to bring home. Basically, I cut down on my animal products, so I still had some, but I started to basically cut it down gradually. And when I did that, and I got rid of all the protein shakes as well, I wasn't as bad anymore, because what happens is too much protein can cause acidosis in the body, which causes you to drink more water, and as soon as I started to cut back, I noticed a difference. So I think it may have unconsciously had an impact in terms of leading me to the vegan diet, but on a conscious level, I only ever did it for heart disease and cancer. And even though I only ever did it for heart disease and cancer, my reasons for being vegan aren't just that now. It's also for the animals, because it's really cruel and what happens to them. The fact that 17,000 children die every single day because we're too selfish and we want to eat dead animals instead of feed them. 50% of greenhouse emissions are caused by animal products ultimately. So I have a number of reasons why I'm vegan now. It's not just heart disease and cancer. So the second question from Gabriel is, what are other vegan YouTubers do you watch, or what other vegan YouTubers do you watch? Good question, mate. So June Rider is basically the top one. June Rider is the top dog. He owns everyone as far as I'm concerned. So I watch all of his videos religiously pretty much. What I do is I actually have a special playlist of June Riders, and it has it in order, like a timeline order, so that way I can watch each and every video he does as he releases them. I'm a little bit behind at the moment, but I've pretty much watched, I'd say, all of the last 1,500 or possibly 2,000 videos he's done, like the vast majority of them. I just think about June Rider, he's blunt, he's honest, he's got a lot of experience, he just covers veganism, cycling, life, motivation, mindset. There's a lot to him, he's not just a one-trick pony, he's quite a multi-dimensional fella. And I'll watch him for years to come. Next up, I'll watch Vegan Gains occasionally. I just love some of the truth bombs he drops on people, some of the drama he causes. I think it's pretty funny. Don't agree with everything he says. I don't think we should wish death upon anyone. Even if you think that, what is it you're hoping to achieve by saying that? Because people are just going to hear that and they're going to be turned off straight away. You're not going to have a chance to give them the rationale behind going vegan, because they've just heard you wishing death upon someone. So I think Vegan Gains, he's definitely done a lot for the vegan community in terms of especially getting the vegan message out there to teenagers and people in their 20s, people who are into bodybuilding. I definitely think he's a good influence, but I think he could, get better. He could improve. Just stop wishing death upon people. Let's see who else. Freely, I'll watch a lot of Freely's videos, so I think Freely's are quite good as well. They're quite informative sometimes in terms of trying to understand people's mindsets. Freely is actually the YouTuber who made me conscious about the suffering of the animals. I'd watch Dune Rider's videos. I'd see this blonde bird hanging around in the videos, like, who's she? Eventually realised that she was a YouTuber as well, watched her videos, and I think some of the videos I saw her do were, the baby chicks being getting ground down, how cows are abused, things like that. And so Freely, if you're watching this, thank you for turning me how can I put it, conscious of the animal suffering. Thanks for making me aware of that. What other vegan YouTubers are there? I'm trying to think. I'll have a look through my subscriber list, because I'm subscribed to quite a few people really. So what I'll do is I'll read out to you some of the people who I am subscribed to. So Bonnie Rebecca's on there. Perhaps don't watch as many of her videos really, if I'm honest. Let's see. So I'm just trying to find the actual list of people. Okay, so subscribe to Nina and Randa. I think they do some good stuff. Vegan Vixen, the Healthy Diabetic, Bite Size Vegan, That Vegan Couple, Carved Up Vegan, Erica on Toast, Veg Sauce, Happy Healthy Vegan, Bananiac, Fully Raw Christina, but I don't really watch many of her videos. I might watch a couple a month at the most, really. Subscribe to a lot of the different doctors as well, so I'll always go and check out, not just necessarily on YouTube, but Dr. Greger, Dr. McDougall, Dr. Davis, Dr. Campbell, Dr. Esselstyn, Dr. Ornish. Always check out what they're doing across the different social media platforms. And then we have another question from Gabriel. What music do you listen to? So music, I actually don't listen to any sort of, modern day music or music that we have now, because most of it is terrible. I don't listen to really any pop music or rap music. I think a lot of it, they just repeat themselves. It isn't really real music. They just use computers to generate the sounds. There aren't any instruments involved a lot of the time. A lot of music I listen to is soundtrack music, so I don't know if I've ever told you any of this before, but I'm actually a big sci-fi geek. So I've got like 140 Star Wars novels in my room. I only really wear Star Wars t-shirts, and I've got like a Marvel t-shirt and possibly a South Park one, and that's about it. I love sci-fi, so I listen to a lot of Battlestar Galactica soundtrack, Stargate, the movie soundtrack, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., The Fifth Element, whatever really. I just love soundtrack music. I love classical music. I do like a lot of music from, say, the 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s. Whether it's love songs or some kind of early rock music, but generally stuff today I stay away from. Next question is from Cody Sturgeon. Hey man, thanks for all your help. I'm also a type 1 diabetic, and even though I've been vegan for a little while, I've still consumed a lot of fat, brackets Chipotle, over the course of that time. I've now adopted carbohydrates as my main fuel, 90-5-5, so 90% calories from carbs, 5% from fat, 5% from protein. How long does it normally take for your body to become insulin sensitive? Also, when is the best time to take your insulin before eating? I am hyperglycemic sometimes, and I hate the idea of carbs I've taken in being wasted, brackets urine. Thanks for your time. So first of all, Cody, well done on where you're at now. So the fact that you say 95.5 makes me think that you're vegan. You haven't actually expressly stated it in your comments. What I would say is that if you're not 100% vegan, you need to get 100%. to have just a small amount of milk or chicken in your diet weekly has a big impact. So before I went vegan, I was having about 200 milliliters of milk each day for my breakfast, and then in addition to that, about 2 to 3 times a week I might have like a chicken curry from across the road from where I worked. And then because I was low carb, sometimes I would end up snacking on different things as well. But if you're having any animal products, they will hold you back. Now then, if you've gone 100% high carb vegan, you should notice a difference within a couple of days max. If you're using the same insulin to carb ratios, you'll start getting hypoglycemic. And what you'll see is, so say if you're on a ratio 1 to 10 like what I was, if you go high carb, whole food, plant-based vegan, you should see that gradually begin to increase. So it'll be 1 to 10 down here, then 1 to 12, 1 to 15, 1 to 18, 1 to 25, and then what'll happen is it'll sort of plateau at the very top and you'll reach your maximum sensitivity. So you say here you're hyperglycemic sometimes. What I would say is, if you could give me some idea of what numbers you are. Now then, I personally do not worry about spikes. My doctors in the hospital say they're not to, because even normal people have blood sugar spikes. So it's not in any case like this. It's not a flat line. Even in normal healthy people, they eat, there's a bit of a spike and then it comes back down. So don't worry about those spikes because normal people have them. What I would say is focus on your HbA1c, which is basically an average of your blood sugars over a 3-month period, and aim for, let's say, 5.5, 5.6, which is what I usually have, which my doctor said is a pretty good number for most diabetics to have. To get any lower sometimes can mean that you can start risking hypos. So yeah, if you could just perhaps respond back to me, give me some more information, I can help you. Let's see. Also, when is the best time to take insulin before eating? Ideally 20 minutes beforehand. Most of the time though, I never do that. I just inject and I'll eat it straight away because I'm kind of strapped for time. Or when I make my evening meal, I usually make food for work the next day. I don't have time to come upstairs, log it while my food's cooking, inject, go back downstairs because it might overcook. I don't really have any problems with that. So yeah, 20 minutes is best if you can though, especially if you're having some unwanted spikes. And what I would say is, if you are genuinely being hyperglycemic, ask yourself, are you 100% vegan? And next, are you 100% whole food? Whole food is the way forward. You can have something that's vegan, but if it's processed, it's not going to be as good. Whole food wins hands down every time. Now then, I have a small amount of processed food in my diet. I never try to hide that fact, but I'd say 95% of calories on average are from whole foods, and that's what you want to aim for. And next of all, what I would say to you, mate, is, in terms of carbohydrates, are you really having 95.5? Are you using Chronometer? How can you be objective about numbers? So my advice to you, mate, is, especially if you're diabetic, is to use Chronometer.com. Put everything in there. Watch my video, how to calculate your net carbs, or how to calculate the amount of insulin you need. I can't remember the exact title. That'll give you a bit of help. Let's see. And if you have any other problems, mate, just feel free to contact me and I'm always happy to help you. Next one is from Kelsey Lay, or Lee. Apologies if I haven't pronounced that properly. Her question is, what foods would you pack if you were to do a long bike tour, 1 week plus, or would you rely on stops along the way? I would pack enough food for, let's say, a day, and that would be it, because otherwise it's going to get too crazy. There's no way, if you're doing a 1 week bike tour, well, you're doing about 70 to 100 miles a day, so you're probably looking at burning a total, and this includes your your own normal caloric needs. You're probably going to be burning 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day. That's a lot of food to carry over a 1 week period. And then also, is it going to go off? It's not going to be fresh probably. So what I'd say is take enough food for a day to eat, and then plan your stops along the way. Assuming you have a cellular device or smartphone, use that to plan different stops. Always go to like a Chinese or Asian restaurant. You can always get rice in the evenings. Daytime, stop off at Whole Foods or a supermarket, get loads of fruit. smashing those carbs. And what I would say is, if you are thinking of doing something like that, eat as much as you can, you know, on a daily basis. Keep it low fat, because fat binds blood cells together, reduces oxygen uptake to the brain and to the muscles, impacts performance, and keep those smashing those carbs in. Let's see, and then she also put, can't wait for your minimalist challenge, very inspiring. So some of you know I'm doing a minimalist challenge. I was going to do a video every day, but it's kind of hard because I've got a full-time job. It might be a bit tricky for me to do that, so I'm tempted to just save them all up and release them in one go, or do them, say, each week instead. And last question on YouTube from Sandy is, do you ever look into the cures that are out there for type 1? Like the progression of various options that could be the ultimate cure? Do you think there is a genuine cure? I never look into it, Sandy, because I think it's a load of BS, bro science, that is. I don't care. At the end of the day, a lot of diabetics, they have this victim mentality, but, you know, it could always be worse. You know, so many diabetics, they act like they've got cancer, they're big drama queens. If you're having a bad time as a diabetic, I'm not saying you specifically, but I'm just speaking in generally here. If you got someone who's having a bad time as a diabetic, it's not because they're diabetic, it's because they're eating bad foods. They're eating, you know, dead animals, chicken periods, fish, milk, cheese, eggs, animal products and all of their derivatives. And they're not eating a 100% or, you know, 95, 90%, you know, whole food, high carb, plant-based diet. That is, you know, why people have problems, because they're not eating healthy. In terms of a cure, it wouldn't really change my life that much. You know, I wouldn't have to inject insulin anymore. I wouldn't have to test blood sugar anymore. I have to admit, it'd be kind of the idea of being a normal person again. You know, it is kind of nice. It almost makes me want to smile, but it is what it is. This is I'm like this the rest of my life, and even if they do make a cure, you don't know what risks there are going to be. You don't know what the side effects are going to be. So I don't really care about that. Instead, I'm just going to focus on my own life and eating as healthily as I can. And last question is from Instagram. So I'm just going to get that up on my phone. So this last question is from Erica on Toast. So if you're watching, and especially if you're like a female and you're looking for some inspiration, so if you go into her YouTube channel, she lost basically 70 or 80 pounds on that diet. So if you're looking for someone to follow, go check her out. So she put the question, do you think we will ever see a day where vegans outnumber non-vegans? If so, how many years do you think it may take? Well, there's some good questions there. I think it's a tough one. It really is a tough one. There's so many variables involved. It could happen, but equally it might not happen. I think the important thing for all of us to do is, if you're watching this and you're a vegan, the important thing that you can do and I can do on a daily basis is quite simply this: to be the best vegans that we can. How do we do that? By eating as healthily as possible. Now then, some people get into arguments with me on this and say veganism isn't about health, it's all about the animals, only the animals matter. Well, listen, if you're only a vegan because the animals and you don't give a toss about yourself or other people, even still, eat as healthily as you can. If you're one of these people who's drinking olive oil and vegetable oil and focus on fat and protein, and you end up and you're fat, you know, why is someone going to go vegan when they look at you? They look at you and they think, I don't want to be a vegan. I don't want to be, you know, like that. So what I would say to you, if you're one of those, you know, fat vegans, because there are some out there, you know, sort yourself out, go high carb, you know, whole food, plant-based, low fat, low protein, and then people are going to look at you, they're going to see the change from your health, and that's going to speak volumes. And, you know, even though they might not be going vegan for the animals, if they're still going vegan, it still benefits the animals. It's like, I went vegan not for the animals, I went vegan to, you know, avoid heart disease and cancer, but it ultimately benefited the animals. And later on, I became aware of the suffering to the animals that they endured because of Freely, thanks to her. And now I'm vegan for the animals as well. So you always got to ask yourself, what is it you're trying to achieve? You know, and next of all, what I would always say to vegans is, there's always more than one angle of attack. Don't always use it from the animals, the perspective of the animals, not because it's an invalid argument. It is a valid argument, but some people, they don't give a toss about animals. they only care about themselves, or they care about the environment, they care about, you know, greenhouse gas emissions, etc. Think to yourself, if this person doesn't give a toss about animals, then what other angle of attack am I going to use? And the best thing for that is, you know, looking at that person, tailoring your arguments to them. So do it from, you know, try the animals, try the health perspective, try the fact that 17,000 children die every single day, the fact that 50% of greenhouse gas emissions are caused by animals. There's so many different angles of attack that you can come from. So, and you'll remember, you always got to ask yourself, what is it you're trying to achieve? Someone might not go vegan because of the animals, but ultimately the animals will benefit. So I think it could happen, but we, each and every one of us, we need to be the best we can. We need to be the best we can in terms of our activism, in terms of the way we live our lives, be good examples to other people, try and help people. If they're struggling, give them advice, be patient with people, don't lose your rag, don't wish death upon them, be willing to put your money where your mouth is, you know, go out and buy books, DVDs, documentaries for people you love and care about, or even for your work colleagues. I know not all of you can do it. You've got mortgages, you've got kids, you've got people you've got to pay for. You can't necessarily afford it, but the majority of you who are watching this probably can do, so put your money where your mouth is. And I think, you know, if we are ever going to get to that day where vegans outnumber non-vegans, it really all comes down to us on an individual level to work as hard as we can and to always try and come together as a community, and coordinate ourselves, you know, for change. I've said it in one of my last videos, you know, why haven't any vegans gotten change.org yet to petition, you know, Joe Biden to, you know, tackle cancer by tackling the animal product industry, meat industry, the dairy industry. There are 3.3 million vegans in America. Imagine if all of them came out and signed a, you know, change.org petition. The White House would have to respond, but because people think, oh, I don't matter, no one does anything. Each and every one of us, we need to have this attitude that we do matter. We can have an influence, even if it's on only a few people, because eventually that will grow exponentially to the point where, you know, there are more vegans, more people, and that will compound. So I hope this has been kind of useful, guys. That is at the end of the different questions that I have. Sorry I don't have any more for you. That's all I have. Let's see, is anyone else let's see, I'm just going to see if anyone else has commented. No one else has commented on that. So I hope that was useful, guys. Would you like me to do these again? Was it boring? Do you want me to never do it again? Did you find this useful? To the different people who ask questions, did you find it useful? Would you like me to do this on a weekly basis, you know, a bi-monthly basis? Whatever, let me know. I'm happy to do whatever you guys want in terms of, you know, trying to help you. Ask me whatever you want. It can be about veganism, diabetes, you know, whatever. If it helps you, just ask. As long as it's not, you know, inappropriate, I don't mind. So until next time, guys, God bless. Remember, always go high carb, low fat, low protein, high fiber. So today we're going to talk about your rights to know what it is you're eating. So I was on politicusa.com and I came across a really interesting article titled GOP, or the Republicans, says the right to know what you're eating is burdensome to corporations. When you're riding, how hard are you going? If you're going, you know, balls to the wall, you know, what's the saying? You know, full pedal down, full gas. What can happen is, if you don't allow your body to cool down properly and clear that lactate from the muscles that builds up, it can basically sit there and it makes your fatigue worse and reduces muscle recovery for next time you come to ride. So let's say if you're going balls to the wall when you're doing that 30k, what I would do is I would consider you know, doing a recovery ride. So a recovery ride would be, say, you know, riding in zone 1 or zone 2 of your heart rate, basically just super easy, just chilling, and just spin those legs out and just remove and flush all that lactate. Next question I would say is, are you eating enough carbs after you get back? Because when you go for a ride, you obviously burn glycogen, especially if you're going hard. So if you're not coming back and eating enough food, what can happen is you can't get enough glycogen back into your muscles. So next time you go to work out, there isn't enough energy there. So it's going to make it harder. Next, I would say, you know, are you sleeping? properly, getting enough rest, especially if you're going hard. And I think, if you can go away and look at those things, it should basically solve it. So I'd definitely say don't give it 4 or 5 days, but perhaps give it a recovery ride to flush that out if you're going hard. If that doesn't help, just put a comment in this video and I'll respond to you, and I'll try and help you work out what it could be. Next one is my nail flies. Hi, I'm type 1 diabetic, brackets vegetarian too. I was wondering how you take your insulin. Do you use syringes, pens, or an insulin pump? So I always use an insulin pen. So basically a pen is where you just screw a needle onto it. It's very small. You dial how much insulin you want to use. On a skateboard you can, on a bike. On a bike you can carry everything. You can go up a hill. You can't skateboard up a hill. So I think the bikes beat this skateboard in that one. So this next one is RTD RD THA vegan. Why does being off the bike for 4 or 5 days make me lose so much of my fitness? I can easily do 30k plus regularly. Being off my bike for a week and 30k felt like I did 300k. Thigh muscles numb, butt hurts, hand numb on bars, and shoulders sore. So that one's quite interesting. So there are a number of reasons why this might be happening. So what I would say is, are you regularly doing 30k bike rides and then having 4 or 5 days off each time? So a number of things here I'd say. So number one, hi guys, Chris here, back with another video. So today's video is first of kind. This is my first ever Q&A video, and today what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out the different questions from the Q&A video I did the other day, where I asked you what questions you had for me. So let's get into the video. So the first question is from Pro Designs, and his question is, vegans don't get zits right? Question mark. So vegans, we can get zits, of course. I get zits every now and then, but generally from what I can see in my own life and other vegans, we generally have much cleaner skin. Part of the reason for that is when people eat these cancer, heart disease inducing, paleo, Atkins, SAD, keto diets, because they have so much fat in their diet. What can happen is it ends up with too much fat in the blood, and what will happen is the body, to try and get rid of that fat, will excrete it through the skin. That's why a lot of people can get oily skin. I think a good video on that is one by Nina and Randa, and they did on their acne and their zits, and how they basically was cured by going to a plant-based vegan diet, or more specifically eating more whole food and less fat and less junk food. So yeah, vegans, we do still get zits, but our skin is a lot cleaner. The next comment is from Ilk Aptrut. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but sorry if it isn't. So his or her question is, I know bikes are considered minimalist compared to, say, cars, but I consider skateboards the embodiment of minimalist object-assisted transportation. Would you agree? I don't really see where you're coming from on that one. I mean, skateboards are obviously cheaper than bikes, but a bicycle is just much more practical, isn't it? You can do so much more on it. You can't do 100-mile